you almost turn your head around it and say, maybe electricity is going to eventually be just another byproduct of coal. You can take lignite coal, and one of the differences in lignite coal from other types of coal is that it's not as stable chemically as other forms of coal. We actually have a thing in our office right now. We got a big chunk of coal from the Falkirk mine, and we're just leaving it in open air in our office. And in 24 hours, it starts to flake off and turn brown and disintegrate. And what we're actually doing is we have it suspended by an eye bolt, and we're running a promotion where you guess what day it's actually going to fall off that eye bolt. It's so chemically unstable that that's going to happen, I think, in a matter of weeks, if not days. Whereas if you were to use a piece of coal from Wyoming or somewhere else, it would stay that way perhaps indefinitely. So that chemical instability allows us to turn it into byproducts like urea or natural gas or other components relatively easily, which is what Basin Electric does at the Dakota Gasification Plant. So what we've looked at doing is saying, can you take those properties and just have the coal be the fuel for an industrial complex that does a lot of different things. It creates a lot of different products, electricity being one of them, and these byproducts being many others. So that's another opportunity that we identified. And the third opportunity that we think is out there is just continued research and development into next generation technologies. And that's really where we think the future is. We identified some things a couple of years ago. One of them is called the Allam Cycle technology. And a traditional coal plant, or just about any type of power plant, uses a water to generate steam, and that steam then spins the turbine, which creates electricity. What an Allam Cycle plant does is, instead of heating water and turning it into steam, it uses CO2 directly to spin that turbine. So it cuts a step out of the process, which makes the whole plant more efficient, but it also captures that CO2 and every other pollutant. So what you end up with is a smaller power plant that's maybe 1/5 the size of a traditional plant, but it's essentially zero emissions. It doesn't have a stack, which is the piece of infrastructure most associated with the fossil fuel plant, but it doesn't have a stack. You capture all the sulfur, all the mercury, all the CO2 in different processes, and the electricity is just produced essentially as part of that chemical process. And then you can do with the CO2 whatever you want. If you want to ship it into the oil fields and get additional oil out, that's very easy because there's no additional infrastructure needed to compress that CO2